In the summer of 1996, a group of high school friends from Portland, Maine, set off on a final adventure before starting college. Their destination, the sun-soaked island of Jamaica, where they hoped to find sun, sand, and a touch of mystery. Join Jake, Sarah, Mike, Emma, and Tom as they uncover the secrets of Paul Kingston's haunted house. What begins as a thrilling exploration turns into a journey of self-discovery when they find a mysterious drawing and realize Jake's family connection to the enigmatic plantation owner, Paul Kingston. Faced with vivid dreams, eerie whispers, and a pendant with unimaginable power, the friends must navigate the haunted mansion and uncover hidden truths. Will they protect the pendant's power and honor the legacy of Paul Kingston, or will they fall victim to the house's haunting? Watch this captivating tale of courage, friendship, and the enduring power of family ties unfold.
The Haunting of Paul Kingston's House. 1. The summer of 1996 was supposed to be the adventure of a lifetime for a group of high school friends from Portland, Maine. Eager to enjoy one last trip together before starting college, they chose Jamaica as their destination. The island promised sun, sand, and a bit of mystery, the perfect combination for an unforgettable vacation. The group consisted of Jake, the charismatic leader, Sarah, the studious bookworm, Mike, the joker with a love for history, Emma, the quiet observer, and Tom, the athletic and practical one. They arrived at their beachfront hotel, excited to explore everything the island had to offer. As they checked in, the hotel staff handed them a pamphlet showcasing local attractions. One entry caught their attention: the haunted house of Paul Kingston. The pamphlet included a dramatic story about Paul Kingston, a wealthy plantation owner who had mysteriously disappeared in the 1800s, leaving behind a mansion rumored to be haunted. "This looks interesting," Sarah said, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "We should check it out." "Yeah, sounds spooky," Mike agreed, grinning. "I'm up for a good scare." That night, Sarah did some research on Paul Kingston and the haunted house. She discovered that the location listed on the pamphlet was incorrect. The actual site of the haunted house was in a more remote part of the island, far from the usual tourist spots. "This is weird," Sarah said, showing her friends the discrepancy. "The house on the pamphlet isn't in the right place. The real haunted house is actually here." She pointed to a spot on the map. "Maybe they didn't want tourists going to the real haunted house," Tom suggested. "Well, I say we go to the real one," Jake declared. "What do you think?" The group agreed, and the next day they set off on their adventure. They rented a Jeep and drove to the remote location, navigating through winding roads and dense jungle. As they approached the site, an eerie feeling settled over them. The surroundings felt strangely familiar, as if they had been there before. "This is giving me the creeps," Emma said, shivering. "Why does it feel like we've been here before?" They parked the Jeep and made their way to the old mansion, its once grand facade now covered in vines and decay. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and the sounds of the jungle. Jake led the way, pushing open the creaky front door. The interior was dimly lit, with shafts of sunlight filtering through broken windows. Dust motes danced in the air, and the floorboards creaked under their weight. "This place is spooky," Mike said, trying to sound brave. As they explored the house, they stumbled upon an old portrait of Paul Kingston hanging on the wall. The stern face of the man in the painting seemed to watch them with a piercing gaze. "There's something familiar about him," Jake said, frowning. "I feel like I've seen that face before, maybe in a history book," Sarah suggested. "Or a nightmare," Mike joked, but no one laughed. They continued their exploration, uncovering old furniture, dusty books, and faded photographs. As they ventured deeper into the house, they found a hidden door leading to the basement. "Should we go down there?" Emma asked, her voice trembling. "We've come this far," Jake replied. "Let's see what's down there." They descended the narrow staircase, the air growing colder with each step. The basement was filled with old chests and crates, remnants of a bygone era. As they searched the basement, Jake stumbled upon an old chest with intricate carvings. He opened it to reveal a collection of letters and a detailed drawing of a pendant with a strange symbol. "Look at this," Jake said, holding up the drawing. "It's beautiful." Sarah examined the drawing closely. This symbol, it's said to hold unimaginable power. I read about it in my research. Unimaginable power? Mike echoed, his eyes wide. Like what? According to the legend, it grants the wearer incredible abilities and protection, Sarah explained. But it's also said to be cursed. Curse or not, it's pretty cool, Jake said, carefully folding the drawing and slipping it into his pocket. As they left the basement, the house seemed to come alive. Shadows moved in the corners of their vision, and the air grew thick with an oppressive energy. They heard faint whispers, as if the house itself was trying to communicate with them. "We need to get out of here," Tom said, his voice urgent. They hurried out of the house and back to the Jeep, their hearts pounding. As they drove away, the drawing in Jake's pocket felt warm, almost as if it were alive. That night, back at the hotel, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the pendant held a deeper connection to him. He had vivid dreams of the mansion and Paul Kingston, visions of events that felt more like memories than dreams. The next morning, Jake shared his dreams with the group. "I had the strangest dreams last night. It felt like I was reliving someone else's memories." "Maybe the drawing is affecting you," Sarah suggested. "They're stories of objects holding the memories of their owners. Or maybe it's a sign," Emma said quietly. "What if you have a connection to Paul Kingston?" Jake's eyes widened. "You know, my grandmother used to tell me stories about our family history. She mentioned someone named Paul Kingston. I thought it was just a legend." "Do you think you're related to him?" Mike asked. "There's only one way to find out," Jake replied. "I need to call my parents." Jake's parents confirmed the family connection. Paul Kingston was indeed a distant relative, and the pendant had been passed down through generations before being lost. Jake realized that he had visited the mansion as a child, and Paul Kingston had gifted him the pendant. "I remember now," Jake said, his voice filled with awe. "I visited that house with my grandmother when I was little. Paul Kingston gave me this pendant, but I lost it when we moved to Maine." "That explains why the house felt familiar," Emma said. "You had been there before." "We need to find the pendant," Sarah said. "If it holds unimaginable power, it could be dangerous in the wrong hands." Jake nodded. "I think it's in my basement back home. We need to go back to Maine." The friends cut their trip short and returned to Maine. They searched Jake's basement, sifting through old boxes and memories. Finally, they found the pendant, hidden in an old jewelry box. As Jake held the pendant, he felt a surge of energy, a connection to his ancestors and the power it held. He knew that the pendant was both a gift and a responsibility. "We need to protect this," Jake said, his voice firm. "We can't let anyone else find it." The friends agreed, and they decided to bury the pendant in a safe place, far from prying eyes. They chose a secluded spot in the forest outside of Portland, where they performed a ceremony to ensure that the pendant's power remained hidden. As they buried the pendant, the air grew still, and a sense of peace settled over them. They knew that they had done the right thing, honoring the legacy of Paul Kingston and protecting the power of the pendant. The adventure had brought them closer together, and they realized that their friendship was stronger than any mystery or legend. They had faced their fears, uncovered hidden truths, and emerged stronger on the other side. And though the memory of the haunted house and the pendant would always stay with them, they knew that they had written their own story. A story of courage, friendship, and the enduring power of family ties. The summer had barely begun when the group of friends from Portland, Maine, found themselves drawn into a mystery that would change their lives forever. They had uncovered a pendant in Jamaica connected to Jake's ancestor, Paul Kingston, and a haunted house that held secrets beyond their wildest imaginations. They returned to Maine, determined to protect the pendant and its unimaginable power. But little did they know that their adventure was far from over. One warm evening in July, the friends gathered at Jake's house for a barbecue. They laughed, joked, and reminisced about their trip to Jamaica. Emma, the quiet observer, excused herself to get some more drinks from the kitchen. "Be right back," she said, smiling as she walked away. As the minutes ticked by, the friends continued their conversation, not realizing that something was terribly wrong. When Emma didn't return after a while, Jake went inside to check on her. "Emma, are you okay?" he called, but there was no response. Concerned, he searched the house but found no sign of her. Panic began to set in, and he rushed back outside to tell the others. "Emma's gone. I can't find her anywhere," Jake said, his voice filled with worry. The group searched the entire property, calling out her name, but there was no trace of Emma. As they regrouped in the living room, their fear grew. "Maybe she went for a walk," Tom suggested, trying to stay calm. "No, she wouldn't just leave without telling us," Sarah said, her eyes wide with concern. Just then, Jake's phone buzzed with a message. He opened it to find a picture of Emma, bound and gagged with a caption that sent chills down their spines. "If you want to see her again, you'll need to follow my instructions." Jake's heart raced as he read the message aloud. "What are we going to do?" he asked, his voice trembling. "We need to find out who sent this and why," Sarah said, her mind racing. "But first, let's see if there are any clues in the message." The friends examined the picture and the caption closely, looking for any hidden details. Suddenly, Jake felt a strange sensation wash over him. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the pendant. As he held it, he felt a surge of energy and saw a brief glimpse of Emma in a dark, unfamiliar place. He could see her captor, a shadowy figure with piercing eyes. "I saw her," Jake said, his voice filled with awe. "The pendant showed me a vision of where she is." "That's amazing," Mike said. "Can you see anything else?" Jake closed his eyes and concentrated. Another vision appeared, showing him a piece of paper with strange symbols and a message. "Find the island where shadows meet the sea." "I think I know where to start," Jake said. "There's an island off the coast of Maine that fits that description. We need to go there." The friends agreed, and they set off to prepare for their journey. They gathered supplies, researched the island, and deciphered the letters from the kidnapper. Each letter provided more clues, leading them closer to their destination. As they boarded the boat that would take them to the island, Jake felt a mix of determination and fear. He knew that the pendant held great power, but he also knew that they were up against something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The boat ride was tense and silent, the weight of their mission hanging heavy in the air. As they approached the island, they could see its dark silhouette against the night sky, a place where shadows seemed to merge with the sea. They docked the boat and made their way onto the island, navigating through the dense forest that covered it. The pendant's energy pulsed in Jake's hand, guiding them toward Emma. As they ventured deeper into the island, they heard strange noises. The rustling of leaves, the whispering of the wind, and the distant cawing of crows. The atmosphere grew thicker with each step, a sense of foreboding settling over them. Finally, they reached a clearing where an ancient stone altar stood, surrounded by candles and symbols etched into the ground. Emma was tied to the altar, her eyes wide with fear. "Emma!" Jake called, rushing forward. But before he could reach her, a figure stepped out of the shadows, a woman with long, flowing black hair and eyes that seemed to pierce their very souls. She wore a dark robe adorned with symbols that matched those on the ground. "Welcome, Jake," the woman said, her voice smooth and cold. "I've been expecting—" "Who are you?" Jake demanded, his grip tightening on the pendant. "I am Ilara, an ancient witch and guardian of the island," she replied. "I felt the pendant's power the moment you found it. It was once mine, and I want it back." "You can't have it," Jake said, his voice steady. "The pendant is mine." Ilara's eyes narrowed. "You are a brave one, but bravery alone won't save you." She raised her hands, and a burst of dark energy shot toward Jake. He instinctively held up the pendant, and a shield of light formed around him, deflecting the attack. "So, you can use its power," Ilara said, a hint of amusement in her voice. "But can you control it?" Jake felt the pendant's energy coursing through him, and he realized that he could see glimpses of the future and heal small injuries. He focused on the visions, looking for a way to defeat Ilara. The friends formed a circle around the altar, ready to support Jake in any way they could. They knew that this battle was not just for Emma, but for the future of the pendant's power. Ilara summoned dark creatures from the shadows, and the friends fought them off, using the pendant's power to heal their wounds and strengthen their resolve. Jake could see the visions guiding him, showing him the best ways to counter Ilara's attacks. Despite her power, Ilara began to falter, the light from the pendant overwhelming her dark magic. But just as victory seemed within reach, Ilara cast a powerful spell that enveloped the friends in a dark, pulsating energy. They were paralyzed, unable to move or speak. "Give me the pendant," Ilara demanded, her voice filled with cold fury, "or your friends will suffer." Jake looked at his friends, their faces filled with fear and pain. He knew that he couldn't let them be harmed. "Fine," Jake said, his voice trembling. "Take it." He held out the pendant, and Ilara snatched it from his hand, a triumphant smile spreading across her face. The dark energy around the friends dissipated, but before they could react, Ilara cast another spell. A cloud of blood-red smoke enveloped the altar, and when it cleared, Ilara and Emma were gone. "No!" Jake screamed, falling to his knees. "Emma!" The friends gathered around Jake, their hearts heavy with despair. They had lost the pendant, and Emma was gone. As they stood there, trying to make sense of what had happened, Jake felt a familiar warmth in his pocket. He reached in and pulled out a small, glowing shard, the last remnant of the pendant's power. "We still have a chance," Jake said, his voice filled with determination. "We can find her. We can save Emma." The friends nodded, their resolve strengthened. They knew that the journey ahead would be difficult, but they were ready to face it together. And so their adventure continued, a quest to rescue Emma and reclaim the pendant's power from the ancient witch. They had faced darkness before, and they would do it again, united by their friendship and the unbreakable bond they shared. Thanks for joining us on another thrilling quest. We hope you enjoyed unraveling today's mystery. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Thrill Quests to keep the adventure alive. And remember, there's always another mystery waiting to be solved, so be sure to tune in for tomorrow's episode. Until then, stay curious and keep questing.